Discover the dark secrets of Leviticus. The shocking truth unveiled at midnight. In the heart of the old town, where shadows danced beneath streetlights and secrets whispered in the night, an eerie thrill hung thick in the air. The locals spoke in hushed tones about Leviticus Graveyard, a place where the moonlight seemed to shun the weathered tombstones. Tales of strange happenings seeped into every conversation, like the chill creeping through the cracked sidewalk. It was said that at the stroke of midnight, the spirits couldn't resist calling out to the living, the air alive with a cacophony of whispers, laughter, and sometimes screams. Tonight, curiosity gnawed at Jenna, a college student stumbling through the forgotten paths of the graveyard. Each step felt like stepping deeper into a nightmarish tale, the kind that kept her classmates up late, gripped by a cocktail of fear and excitement. A gnarled tree loomed over her, its branches twisting grotesquely, casting strange shapes on the ground. She heard an unsettling rustle, like fingernails scraping against stone, sending a shiver down her spine. Who would dare to tread here when the veil between the living and the dead seemed thin enough to slice? As the clock tower rang midnight, every tissue in Jenna's body tightened, her chest a locked box of dread and anticipation. Then, out of nowhere, a flicker of movement caught her eye. A figure glided past the mausoleums, dressed in shadow, with an unsettling grace that suggested a haunting familiarity. Her heart pounded like a wild drum. Was it a trick of the light? Or was there truly something, waiting in the dark, eager for a witness? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Jenna took a deep breath, trembling as she latched onto the moment. The chill of the night wrapped around her like a shroud. Her instincts screamed to flee, yet a force pulled her forward into the murky depths of uncertainty. As she crept closer, the figure turned, and for the briefest instant, their eyes met bottomless pits filled with a sorrow that felt like a dagger to her soul. There was a story behind those eyes, one that reached out to her, whispering secrets long buried. What dark truth lay hidden beneath the dust and despair of Leviticus? Why did the figure seem so familiar, almost hauntingly integral to her own life? The questions clawed at her mind, a riptide impossible to ignore. Jenna knew she was about to cross a line, one that may forever alter the story of her life. Would she step through the shadow and uncover the chilling narrative waiting to unfold? Jenna felt an irresistible pull toward the figure, her curiosity battling against the primal urge to turn and run. Her heart slammed against her ribcage as she took another cautious step forward, the graveyard's damp earth squelching beneath her sneakers, echoing her inner turmoil. The figure started to fade into the shadowy depths, but something, a whiff of familiarity, a thread of connection, urged her on. "Hey!" she shouted, her voice trembling. "Wait!" For a heartbeat, silence enveloped the graveyard like a heavy blanket. The wind stilled, holding its breath. Jenna's pulse quickened, heavy in her ears as she strained to see. The figure stopped, almost hovering between the graves like a dark sentinel. Just as Jenna thought she might lose her nerve, it turned slowly. In the dim moonlight, a face emerged, pale and ethereal. "Jenna," it whispered, the name slipping from its lips like smoke. Her breath hitched. "Do I know you? Was this a trick? A sick, cruel prank her friends concocted to scare her?" But as she searched those mournful eyes, doubt slipped away. She did know this person, or at least she felt she did, as if tugged by threads of an old memory. Then, just as quickly as it materialized, the figure stepped closer, the air swirling around it, thickening like fog rolling in. Jenna struggled to catch her breath, a new kind of fear gripping her. What if it was truly a ghost? "I can't stay." The figure spoke again, voice full of anguish and urgency. "You must leave, before it's too late." Chills coursed through Jenna's body. Too late for what? The figure's gaze turned toward the old mausoleum, shrouded in shadow, as if it were the source of some vast, ancient evil. "He is awake," it uttered, voice barely a whisper that left a heavy weight hanging in the air. The one who should remain buried. Darkness clawed its way through the graveyard, creeping closer as Jenna's heart raced, the threat buried within those words tightening her chest. She couldn't just walk away now, not after this encounter. "Who is he?" she demanded, desperation fueling her voice. "What do you want from me?" The figure stepped back, the light shifting, revealing the long-forgotten tarnished nameplate on the nearest tombstone. It was her last name. Jenna's breath caught. No, that can't be. Then the figure dissolved into the darkness as if pulled into another realm. Panic surged through her. She took a step back, but a low rumble suddenly vibrated through the ground beneath her. The mausoleum shifted, the heavy door creaking open just a sliver wide enough for something ancient and terrible to slip through. Jenna staggered as the foul scent of decay wafted towards her, an ominous invitation to draw closer. The graveyard trembled, the whispers soaring back, now mixed with discordant laughter that mocked her fear. Memories of her childhood darted through her mind, quick flashes of her family. Laughter spared from the darkness, short glimpses of a life without the weight of these secrets. They bloomed and withered in the face of the malevolence now unfurling before her. She took a deep, shaky breath and turned toward the mausoleum. Jenna had to know the truth, had to understand why she felt so tied to this nightmare. As her instincts battled again, she sensed the presence of something waiting for all the dirt to be unearthed. Would she dare confront the evil rising from its slumber? Would she discover what truly lay behind her family's name carved in stone? The answer was still hidden in shadows, and the clock was ticking. Jenna took a step closer to the mausoleum, the heavy air pressing down on her like a weight. Thunder rumbled in the distance, sending shivers skittering down her spine. Shadows danced on the stone walls, taunting her with every flicker of moonlight, as if the very structure was alive, pulsating with ancient malevolence. What was she doing? Fearing the unseen, she hesitated, her breath hitching as the door creaked further open, like a gaping mouth ready to swallow her whole. Behind that door lay answers or her doom. Maybe I should turn back. A whisper of doubt hissed in her mind, but the urgency of the figure's warning echoed louder. Before it's too late. What did that even mean? With a deep breath, she pushed the door, the chill seeping through her skin. It swung open with a reluctant groan. Darkness spilled out, thick and palpable, wrapping around her feet and creeping up her legs. She swallowed hard, bracing herself against the tide of fear coursing through her. Inside, the mausoleum was a crypt of dust and secrets. Cobwebs hung like neglected memories, woven in the corners where light dared not venture. She felt the pull again, tighter now, like an invisible thread tethering her to something buried deep within these stone walls. But what was it? As her eyes adjusted, her gaze fell on a stone altar at the center, littered with faded trinkets and remnants of past visitors. Flowers wilted and dead lay in offerings, their fragrance a sickening mix of decay and sorrow. She stepped closer, heart racing as she fought against the urge to recoil. A churning sensation rose in her stomach when she spotted a familiar object among the decay, a silver locket, tarnished and heavy with age. The design was unmistakable, etched with swirling patterns and a small inscription. It was hers. What is my locket doing here? Panic fluttered at the edges of her mind like trapped birds, desperate for freedom. She reached for it, her fingers trembling as they brushed against the cold surface. The moment she made contact, the mausoleum shuddered violently. Dust cascaded from the ceiling as the laughter echoed again, now more sinister, reverberating off the cold stone. Her heart thundered in her chest. She had unwittingly awoken something. Jenna, a distant voice coiled around her like smoke. It sounded almost like her own, overlapping with the laughter, urging her to run but also to stay. You found me. I'm not afraid of you, she shouted, even as terror crept into her voice, fueled by the hollow, echoing threats. But she was afraid of the truth. The whispers grew stronger, swirling around her, clinging to her like a shroud. Too late, the voice moaned, and the ground rumbled again. Jenna stumbled backward, the locket slipping through her fingers and clattering to the floor. Suddenly, without warning, the very walls of the mausoleum began to tremble. Stone cracked and split, and dark, oozing tendrils slithered out from the cracks. The mausoleum was alive, and it wanted her. In that moment of sheer panic, Jenna dashed back, eyes wide, desperation turning her thoughts into a frenzy. She had to escape, but retreating into the darkness felt impossible. Would she be dragged down with whatever evil had been trapped within this place? Just then, the half-open door slammed shut, sealing her inside like a fly caught in a web. "Now you must choose," the shadows whispered, swirling like an angry storm. "Will you embrace the truth that lies beneath, or succumb to the darkness like those before you?" The air thickened, her lungs seized with dread and urgency. The truth clawed at her thoughts, tangled with the lineage of her family and the weight of their sins. As she faced the gathering dark, Jenna knew she needed to unearth what had been buried before it consumed her whole. But what if unearthing it meant waking something even darker? The clock was ticking and time was running out. Jenna's heart raced like a wild animal trapped in a cage. The shadows around her thickened, coiling tighter, preventing her escape. The swirling darkness felt alive, pulsating with an insatiable hunger. She pressed her back against the cold, unyielding stone wall, fingers clawing at the rough surface, searching for a purchase, something to ground her in this hellish nightmare. "Stop it! I won't give in." Her voice cracked, fighting the despair creeping up her throat. But the whispers only grew louder, intertwining with the sinister laughter, weaving a tapestry of terror that clawed at her sanity. Suddenly, the locket glimmered on the ground, catching the moonlight that dared to seep through the cracked ceiling. It seemed to pulse with a life of its own, mocking her resolve. "You're nothing without me," it whispered, a cruel jibe laced with familiarity. Jenna felt the gravity of the object pulling at her, a silent plea, or perhaps a command. "We have to keep digging." The dark voice was filled with a seduction that made her want to comply. But what lay buried beneath the weight of her family's legacy? Sweat dripped down her brow, mixing with her fear. She steeled herself and pushed away from the wall, driven not by resolve, but by sheer desperation. The tendrils creeping along the floor seemed to sense her movement, tightening like a python preparing to strike. Jenna could almost feel its breath, cold and rancid, caressing her feet. She willed herself to focus, her gaze fixed on the locket, battling the urge to flee as she leaned closer. Suddenly, a vision exploded in her mind. Flickering images danced before her, disjointed and maddening. A family gathering, laughter mixed with shouts, the silver locket glowing like a beacon of love, until it wasn't. Darkness closing in, shadows pulling her loved ones apart, their faces twisted in fear. The screams echoed in her ears, a haunting chorus of despair that made her knees weaken. "Let go," the voice urged, smooth as silk yet heavy with malice. "It's time to embrace who you truly are, what you are." Jenna shook her head violently, battling the pure dread swelling inside her. She was not like them. She couldn't succumb to whatever evil thrived here. With renewed determination, she lunged for the locket, gripping it tightly. The moment her fingers closed around it, the mausoleum shrieked in anger. Walls shivered as if in agony, dust spiraling into a swirling tempest around her. She gasped, staggering back, the shadows writhing in anger, snapping like whips toward her. "Foolish girl, you thought to confront the past?" The haunting voice resonated through the chamber, shaking the very foundation. "The truth is buried, but it will not stay hidden." Jenna's mind raced, grappling with the terror of the unknown. As the shadows lunged at her, she felt a deep, ancient fear seep into her bones. In an instinctive panic, she turned and ran, bolting toward the only exit. But the door stood firmly shut, a wall of darkness blocking her escape. "Face the truth," they hollered, echoing in her skull, causing her to stagger as memories clawed to the surface, the destiny tied to her family. A lineage steeped in darkness. What truth lurked beyond those walls? Her pulse thudded in her ears as she whipped back around, the locket's glimmer now dull against the walls of living shadows. "I won't be afraid," she yelled, standing her ground. "I will find out what binds us." And just like that, the world around her shifted. The dark tendrils pulled back, retreating into the walls, revealing a hidden passage at the back of the mausoleum. An ancient door stood ajar, its edge lit by a strange, ghostly light. In that moment, Jenna understood what she had to face, but would the cost be too great? Her heart thundered in her chest as she stepped toward the passage, the air thick with anticipation. What awaited her in the darkness beyond? With a final shuddering breath, she plunged into the light, and the darkness began to whisper her name once more. Jenna stepped through the doorway, her heart pounding like a drum in an empty hall. The air shifted, crackling with energy, as if the very fabric of reality had bended to her will. She squinted, trying to make sense of the dim glow ahead. The walls bore an ancient script she couldn't decipher, their meanings lost in time but heavy with foreboding as she ventured forward. The whispers morphed into a singular voice, echoing in the hollow chamber. "You're a piece of the puzzle, Jenna. You were always meant to uncover what's hidden." The ethereal light flickered, and shadows flitted at the edges of her vision, pulling at her mind. Each step deeper into the passage felt like a step closer to madness. She pressed her hand against the cool stone, willing herself to remain anchored, but the fear clawed at her throat like a wild beast. Then she saw a tapestry hanging on the far wall. It was woven with such intricate detail, depicting a scene that struck her to her core. Her ancestors stood, faces twisted in agony amidst a storm of darkness. Their hands grasped at each other, desperation painted vividly in their expressions. The figures appeared alive, as if they might leap from the fabric and into her reality. "What did you do?" Jenna breathed, stepping closer. As she reached out, a cold gust surged forward, knocking the breath from her lungs. The tapestry began to ripple like water, and she could hear their cries faint at first, then rising into a chaotic roar. Each scream was laced with sorrow and regret, a cacophony that filled her with dread. "Embrace your birthright." The voice coaxed, its tone both alluring and terrifying. "You are not merely a witness, you are a participant." Jenna jerked her hand back, stumbling away from the wall. This wasn't just about her. It was about generations lost in the grasp of a darkness they couldn't escape. She felt the weight of her family's history pressing down on her, trying to drown her in despair. "No," she shouted, the word bursting forth with defiance. "I want to be a part of your twisted legacy." The moment she spoke, the ground beneath her trembled violently, sending her reeling as cracks split the stone. The spectral light dimmed, shadows swelling and twisting into grotesque shapes. She felt the pull of the darkness again, urging her to give in, to surrender to the pain woven into her bloodline. But alongside the terror, a spark ignited within her, a flicker of hope. With each beat of her heart, she could feel it growing stronger. "I am more than this," she declared, her voice clear and steady, breaking through the din of despair. The shadows froze, a moment of stunted silence filling the air. Jenna seized the opportunity, racing back toward the threshold, the locket clutched tightly in her fist. It burned against her skin, a reminder of the love and strength rooted in her family's saga, but it was also a choice. A choice to rewrite the narrative that had been imposed on her. As she crossed the threshold, she felt a rush of air, almost like a release, as if the weight of 1,000 souls was lifted from her shoulders. The ground settled, and the whispers faded into a haunting echo, leaving her breathless and shaken. Outside the door, the world had shifted again. A bright moon hung low, creating a silver glow that illuminated the path ahead. But Jenna knew the danger wasn't over. Whatever had awakened in the mausoleum would not be satisfied with just her defiance. Shadows still danced at the periphery, whispering promises of power and darkness, twisting her thoughts into a storm. "What do you want from me?" she whispered into the night, expecting no answer, yet knowing it wouldn't be long before the darkness returned. And as she turned away from the mausoleum, a shadow darted across her path, a fleeting glimpse of something monstrous. Fear gripped her anew, intertwining with the hope burning within her. She had opened a door, but the question loomed massive in the moonlight. What kind of battle awaited her in the light of day? The ground trembled underfoot, and she braced herself for the inevitable clash. To come, Jenna barely had a moment to catch her breath. The shadows loomed larger, and the night felt thicker, as if the darkness itself was pressing against her. She sprinted down the narrow path, heart racing, glancing over her shoulder. The flicker of movement, a dark shape, darting just beyond her vision, sent chills racing up her spine. Keep moving, she urged herself, her breath rapid and shallow. The moonlight, once a beacon of hope, now seemed like a spotlight on her fears. With every step, the whispers returned, creeping into her mind like a fog. You can't run from your destiny, Jenna. No, she growled, shaking her head fiercely to dispel the thoughts. I choose my own destiny. The words felt powerful, but doubt gnawed at her resolve. What if the darkness really was her fate? Suddenly, she stumbled upon a clearing. The ground was smooth, and the air changed, carrying the scent of damp earth and something metallic. Right at its center, a stone altar sat, ancient and foreboding. The earth around it had been disturbed, a fresh mound of soil hinting at secrets newly buried. It looked as if someone or something had been there recently. Jenna's heart dropped. What is this? She whispered, stepping closer. The altar was etched with similar symbols as in the mausoleum, but these were darker, twisted, almost alive. As she loomed over it, a chill swept through her. What connection did she have to this place? Your blood is tied to this land, the ominous voice echoed, as if it had seeped from the stones themselves. Jenna froze. Could it be a trick of her mind? Or was the darkness reaching out, trying to pull her back in? Leave me alone, she shouted defiantly, her chest tightening as panic threatened to overwhelm her. The earth shuddered again beneath her feet. Jenna stepped back instinctively, her eyes darting around for an escape. But as she took a breath to steady herself, a soft glow emanated from the altar, illuminating the gruesome designs carved into the stone. In that light, she saw something startling, an outline of a figure, a silhouette stark against the brightness. It was a woman, resembling her eerily, adorned with the same markings strewn across the altar. I'm not her. I'm not like you, Jenna cried out, the words tearing from her throat as recognition twisted her gut. Was this what the tapestry showed? An ancestor condemned by the darkness? The glowing figure shifted, her mouth forming words without sound. But the intention resonated deep within Jenna. It was like she was being called, summoned back to a legacy she could hardly bear to face. This cycle ends with you, Jenna, the figure seemed to plead, and an overwhelming sense of urgency washed over her. The weight of thousands of years pressed on her shoulders, each moment of pain ebbing at her very essence. I sacrificed myself, Jenna yelled, clenching her hands into fists. Yet even as she spoke, the air crackled with energy, and the ground felt unstable, swaying like it was alive. A sudden explosion of darkness erupted around her, swallowing the light whole. Terrified, she spun to flee, but the shadows twisted and danced, blocking her path. Panic flooded her mind as she shouted, "What do you want from me?" From the depths of the void, a voice cut through like glass. "You have the power to change everything, but at a price." Jenna faltered. The offer hung in the air, heavy and sweet, but she could feel the darkness curling around her ankles like chains. "Choose wisely," Jenna, the shadows hissed, and with that, the world plunged into chaos, an unending battle of light and dark awaiting her. A moment of clarity surged through the storm. She had to confront the truth: her past, her family, her choice. As the very ground began to fracture beneath her, Jenna locked her gaze with the glowing silhouette. "Are you ready for the truth?" the figure seemed to ask, floating just out of reach. Fueled by a deadly urgency, Jenna raised her voice. "I am." With that declaration, the shadows erupted, a surge of darkness ready to swallow her whole, but the question remained in the air, thick with tension. Could she truly handle what lay in store? Would she find the light or succumb to the shadows? The darkness pulsed around Jenna, thick and suffocating, as if it had a heartbeat of its own. The air hummed with energy, weaving through her pores, demanding her attention. She felt the altar trembling beneath her, urging her to make a choice, to take a step closer to the truth she had bravely declared she wanted to face. Her pulse quickened. "Why do you torment me?" she shouted, her voice wavering slightly, caught between fear and resolve. The shadows seemed to breathe in unison with her, their whispers growing louder, echoing her doubts. "Because your destiny has arrived," the voice replied, layered with each breath of wind. It was closer than before, yet it felt as distant as time itself. The figure floated closer, a shimmering contrast against the void. "Then show me," Jenna screamed, feeling a rush of adrenaline surge through her. "I refuse to be afraid." The echo of her voice dissipated into the shadows. And then, one by one, the markings on the altar began to glow. Each symbol pulsed with a brightness that illuminated Jenna's features and highlighted her fear-stricken eyes, sparking life into the shackled memories of those who came before her. "The blood of your ancestors courses through your veins," the figure whispered, her ethereal presence almost reaching out to touch Jenna. "You're the one meant to break this curse, to end the chaos." Jenna felt her heart embrace the hope wrapped within the figure's words, even as doubt clung to her thoughts. "But at what cost?" she murmured, her voice trembling. The quiet night shifted, a foreboding promise hanging thick in the air. "Fear is a prison, Jenna." The silhouette moved closer, revealing wisps of long, dark hair and sorrowful eyes that were hauntingly familiar. "Everything has a price. You can either accept the truth, face the darkness, and reclaim your freedom, or let it consume you as it did your ancestors." Each word she spoke struck like a hammer on Jenna's heart. A flicker of resolve ignited within her, burning brightly against the chill of despair. The answer was deeper than she could even begin to understand, grounded in the very foundation of her being. "Tell me how," Jenna pleaded, desperation clawing at her throat. An involuntary step forward pushed her feet against the trembling ground. The figure's smile was bittersweet. "You must confront the darkest part of your lineage. Find the keeper of this truth. He resides in the heart of this darkness." As the words hung in the air, the shadows coiled tighter, swirling around Jenna's legs, lifting her off the ground slightly. "Find him now or be lost," the figure warned, her form beginning to flicker, the light dimming. "Wait." Jenna reached out, but her fingers only brushed the cool air where the figure had been. The glow faded, leaving her surrounded by shadows once more. "Who is the keeper?" she cried into the void. Silence fell, and then the ground seemed to roar, cracking wide open. Black tendrils shot forth from the darkness, snaking toward Jenna, pulling her deeper into a whirlpool of chaos. She fought against it, fighting for breath as every instinct screamed at her to run. Just as those shadows threatened to close around her completely, a sudden bright light burst forth, a beacon in the suffocating dark. Surrounded, Jenna felt a rush emerging of fear and power filling her with determination. "I'm not afraid," Jenna screamed defiantly, willing the light to surge forward. The shadows hesitated, recoiling as if stung, their grip loosening. But a voice, deeper and even more menacing than before, chimed in from the depths below. "You can't escape your past, Jenna, it will find you." The uncertainty stirred within her anew. Could she actually break free? Would she find this keeper and uncover the truth? Or would she spiral back into the darkness, destined to become yet another shadow in her family's tragic lineage? As the ground shuddered one last time, Jenna prepared herself for a fight, her heart thrumming wildly against her ribcage. "Show me the way," she cried, her resolve hardening. Little did she know, the shadows were already blazing. Paths of betrayal and revelation. Would she follow, or would she turn back? The question loomed, teetering on the edge of destiny. Fear coiled tighter around Jenna as the shadows shrank back, momentarily suppressed by the light she had conjured. It flickered like a struggling flame, teasing her with the promise of liberation. Still, an undertow of dread dragged at her feet, urging her to retreat. "No," she whispered to herself, though her heart raced in protest. The ominous voice of the darkness echoed in her mind. Her past was an inescapable storm that loomed ever closer. Gathering every ounce of bravado, Jenna stepped forward, her bare feet pressing against the cool stone of the altar. I'll confront whatever hides in the dark. I will find the keeper. Her declaration seemed to pulse through the air, igniting whatever flickering hope still resided in her. The light swelled, creating a halo around her. Shadows writhed angrily, hissing like wild animals cornered by an intruder. And yet, a path began to unfold before her, illuminated by the gleaming symbols on the altar's surface. Then she heard it, whispers intertwining with the howling darkness. Chilling yet familiar, they were voices from her past, entwined with pain and longing. Each tone tugged at her heart, an eerie echo of the twisted branches of her family tree. Their stories were buried beneath layers of sorrow, like autumn leaves trapped under ice. Confront your fears, Jenna, they urged, sounding like a chant, drawing her deeper into the abyss. Where are you? Jenna shouted, feeling drained but relentless. She took a tentative step into the dark path that now beckoned her, an invitation lined with peril. The shadows twisted around her, promising secrets if she would dare to listen. The air thickened, charged with an energy that felt both electric and suffocating. Each step propelled her further from the altar, and the brilliant light began to dim, struggling against the pressing weight of the night. A shiver climbed her spine as if the darkness was peeling back her defenses, exposing her core. Come to the heart of this darkness, the voice lured her deep, curling around her thoughts with a serpentine grace. Jenna stumbled onward. Shadows lashed at her like caustic tendrils. Where's the keeper? She shouted, forcing her voice to break through the clamor of whispers. The shadows laughed, a mocking chorus that sliced through her resolve. Your lineage holds the key, they taunted, their tones growing more sinister. Suddenly, the shadows parted like a heavy curtain, revealing a clearing filled with ancient, gnarled trees that seemed to breathe with life. In the midst of it all, a figure stood tall and cloaked in night, a shroud of darkness wrapped around him. Jenna, he said, his voice a low rumble. You've come to find me, you've come to find the truth. Her heart thundered in her ears as she gazed up at him. The air crackled with impending danger, and Jenna felt the weight of her ancestors' choices pressing down on her shoulders. Are you the keeper? She steadied her voice, though inside, terror and anticipation clashed like stormy seas. Yes, he replied, stepping closer, his eyes shimmering with a deep, hollow light. But know this, you'll pay for what you seek. The truth has a price. A jolt hit Jenna like lightning, and she locked eyes with the keeper. What kind of truth could require such a toll? Did she dare pursue it? I'm ready, she said, heart racing. Ready, are you? His laugh sent chills down her spine. Many have said that before you the shadows began to swirl more violently, the air becoming electric with fear and uncertainty. Jenna knew she had crossed a line, one that held her family's fate and her own. She took a deep breath, searching within for the strength to face whatever lay ahead. Tell me, she demanded, voice strong despite the quaking ground beneath her. And with a malevolent grin, the keeper stepped closer, the lights flickering like dying stars. Then let the revelations begin. In that moment, Jenna realized the darkness was no longer just a backdrop. It was alive, intertwining with her fate. What secrets would emerge from the depths? What would she learn at the cost of the truth? The shadows shivered with anticipation, ready to swallow her whole. Jenna felt the weight of the keeper's gaze, heavy, relentless, as if he could see through her, peeling back layers of her heart like the ancient bark of a tree. Fear tightened its grip, but amidst it all, an ember of determination flickered. She wouldn't turn back now. Not when the darkness was so close to revealing everything. Tell me, she shouted again, her voice echoing into the night. The trees rippled as if disturbed by her urgency, their twisted branches clawing at the air. Very well, child of the flame, he replied, his tone a mixture of mockery and intrigue. Your bloodline is steeped in secrets, darkness lingers in the shadows of your ancestors. Will you bear the weight of these truths? Jenna swallowed hard, the lump in her throat fierce and heavy. She felt the echoes of her past, not just her own, but of families long lost. Whispers without faces, stories that led to this moment. The keeper stepped closer. She could sense he savored her trepidation. The night thickened, the air swirling with tension. Shadows moved with sinister intent, thickening like tar around her ankles. "Tell me the cost," she demanded, her breath shallow. "The cost is your innocence," he replied softly, the weight of his words sending a shockwave through her body. "To know the truth is to understand your lineage's darkness. Are you prepared to face what you may discover?" "Yes." She was surprised at the fierceness in her own voice. "I am ready for the truth, no matter what it is." "Very well, then." The keeper raised his hands, and a cascade of silver light erupted from his fingertips, illuminating the clearing. The darkness shrank back unwillingly, revealing splintered memories embedded in the earth. Images shimmered into focus. Ancestors cloaked in shadow, clutching at secrets with desperate hands as they hovered between life and death. What are these?" she breathed, her heart racing as memories trapped in pain started to bleed into her mind. "Fragments of a history buried deep within you," he replied. "The sacrifices, the betrayals, the dark pacts made in the name of power and survival. You are tied to them forever." Stumbling back, she clenched her fists tightly, feeling the cool surface of the stones beneath her. Each heartbeat echoed in her ears, and the keeper's laughter rolled over her like thunder. "Face it, Jenna, this is your heritage." Images washed over her, laced with deep-rooted dread. There she was, a child in a dim room, shadows looming like nightmares ready to leap. Then an image of a woman yelling, hands raised as if beckoning, fear etched across her face. Questions bubbled up. Who was she? What had happened to make her so desperate? "Stop!" Jenna shouted, the chaos within her spiraling out of control. But the memories pressed forward, and with them came the weight of loss, the grief of choices long made. No more. She fell to her knees, overwhelmed, fists pounding against the ground. It felt as if every secret was clawing its way out, fighting to be freed from the dark. The keeper watched, his smile chilling her to the bone. "You think you can fight what you truly are? The truth will set you free, but only once it has consumed you." "I want to be consumed." She gritted her teeth, forcing herself to stand. "I can handle it. Show me." With a swift motion, the keeper closed his eyes. The fading light flared brighter, casting sharp outlines across the woods, illuminating figures in the shadows. Her family, their faces strained, sorrowful, shrouded in anguish. "Then let us see how prepared you truly are," he challenged. The words laced with darkness as he stepped closer. An all-consuming dread settled into Jenna's bones. What more could he show her? What horrors lay just beyond the veil? The presence of the keeper loomed ominously, ready to unveil even darker secrets. Jenna's spirit flickered under the weight of the moment. As the shadows pulsated in response to the keeper's movements, she wondered if she'd lose herself in the truth, or if she'd find the power to change it forever. Could she endure the revelation, or would the darkness finally consume her whole? Just as the ground trembled beneath her feet, changing everything, Jenna stood at the epicenter of chaos, her heart racing as the shadows threatened to close in again. The keeper loomed closer, a menacing figure bathed in the flickering glow of the altar. "You think you are ready?" He smirked, his voice laced with mockery. "Let us see how resolute you truly are." "Show me," she shouted, the declaration ringing clear against the tumultuous night. Did she really want to know everything? Was she prepared to bear the burden of the truth? There was no turning back now. With those words, the keeper raised his hands high, unleashing a shockwave of light that pulsed through the clearing. The shadows recoiled, momentarily retreating, revealing visions that cascaded like shattered glass, her family's history igniting before her eyes. Each scene cut like a knife, a young mother cradling a child, the knot of fear twisting her face. A wedding day marred by a shadowy figure lurking in the background, ominous and threatening. "No." Jenna stumbled back, a raw gasp tearing from her throat. "What does it all mean?" Only the beginning, the keeper replied, his tone chilling. With a low rumble, the earth shifted as the images grew clearer, revealing darker truths. The darkness that haunts your lineage runs deeper than you know. It is tethered to the heart of your family's secrets, woven in the fabric of your blood. Visions of betrayal and loss flooded her senses. She saw ancestral figures attempting to harness the dark powers they never understood. Bonds were formed through fear and sorrow, choices made in desperation, each seemed tying Jenna to their fate. "Stop!" she cried once more, feeling the weight of these ancestral failures crashing in on her. Yet deep inside, an ember of resolve sparked anew. With gritted teeth, she refocused, knowing now that she was not only fighting for herself but for the many lives marked by this legacy. "Face yourself," the keeper commanded, the shadows swirling violently around them and his gaze. Jenna discovered the torment of understanding mirroring the turmoil inside her. This is not just about entering the depths of the past. This is about recognizing what lies within you. His voice was a deafening echo as the shadows whipped around her, urging her deeper. She closed her eyes, inhaled deeply, and faced her reflection within the chaos. "I am more than what has been done to me," she screamed, invoking every ounce of strength. "I refuse to be a pawn in your game." In that instant, light surged through her veins, igniting her courage. A bowstring sprang taut within her heart. "I will break this cycle." The proclamation resonated like a drum, bouncing back against the very essence of despair surrounding her. "Then prove it," the keeper hissed, shadows swirling, narrowing like a snake ready to pounce. Jenna charged forward, fists clenched, the locket burning fiercely against her chest, illuminating her path. "I am not afraid of the truth," she shouted defiantly, each word laced with power. The keeper's eyes widened, perhaps with disbelief, as Jenna's fierce light pushed against the darkness. Venomous whispers fell silent, then erupted into a shrill cacophony of confusion as the darkness sought to ensnare her again. "I know who I am," she called into the night, her spirit unwavering. "I am Jenna. I am the heir, but I will not inherit this tainted legacy." With a roar of defiance, she thrust both hands forward, releasing all the light she had within. The shadows recoiled, revealing a path forged in bright silver light. Jenna moved swiftly, propelled by raw determination. She needed to reach the heart of this darkness and sever its ties to her family forever. With every step, she felt the chains of her lineage slowly shatter. The keeper's laughter faded into a haunting wail as the shadows lashed out, only to be met with radiant blasts of her resolve. She was a tempest now, unyielding, breaking free from the constraints of fear as Jenna broke through the veil. She stumbled into a vast chamber bathed in blinding light. The darkness recoiled, hissing like steam escaping a kettle. The whispers faded, leaving behind a profound silence. With her heart thundering, she found herself face to face with the source, an ancient relic pulsing at the center of the chamber. A dark crystal tethering all the shadows. This was the anchor of her ancestors' plight. "This is where it ends," she murmured, her reflection fracturing in the shimmering surface. Jenna reached out, empowered by the collective spirit of those who came before her. Channeling their strength, she grasped the crystal. In that moment, the floodgates opened, a whirlwind of memories crashing through her consciousness. She gasped, understanding the pain, the choices, the hopes lost. And with her voice steady, she declared, "No more." The light burst forth, engulfing the darkness, her ancestors standing around her. Their faces changed from pain to resolve, joining her in this final confrontation. With one surge of strength, she shattered the crystal. The darkness exploded around her, dissolving under the force of unity. As the last remnants of the shadows faded, Jenna felt a rush of relief and empowerment wash over her. The ties binding her family to sorrow had been severed. Exhausted, yet exhilarated, she stepped back into the moonlit clearing. The air was lighter, as if the world was breathing anew. Jenna looked around, sensing a mix of sadness for what had passed and profound hope for the future. "Your lineage is free, Jenna," she whispered, gazing at the remnants of darkness fading into memory. and now so are you. With a heart full of determination, she turned away from Leviticus graveyard, leaving behind the haunted past, stepping forward into the light of a new dawn. The journey of her ancestors was now her own, unbound by the weight of darkness but embraced by the strength of truth. Jenna walked away with her locket tightly secured against her heart, a legacy of love restored, ready to face whatever lay ahead in her new beginning. But now that you've reached the end of this gripping tale, there is something you absolutely must do. You need to subscribe immediately to this channel, so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that will blow your mind. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep these tales alive. Flood the comments section below with your reactions. What did you think of this explosive conclusion? Did Jenna's journey resonate with you? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling finale. Your support makes all the difference. Let's keep the magic alive together.